The Venezuelan president is in U.S. custody right now after being captured in an overnight raid. Nicolás Maduro was flown into New York today. Our live team coverage on the situation coming out of Venezuela continues tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening, Central Florida. I'm Q McCrae. Right now, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro is being held here in the United States after being captured last night. He's expected in his first court appearance in federal court in the next few days. President Trump posting this image today with the caption, Nicolás Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima.
The United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night, captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice.
Multiple explosions and low-flying aircraft were heard around 2 a.m. local time in the Venezuelan capital of Caracas. The president watching from Mar-a-Lago.
In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night.
For weeks now, the U.S. had been ramping up pressure on Maduro, seizing 2 oil tankers and deadly military strikes on alleged drug boat smugglers. In a new indictment, Maduro and his wife charged with drug crimes and conspiracy.
Maduro and Flores have been indicted for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States.
Maduro accused the U.S. of mounting a months-long pressure campaign to force a regime change and gain access to its vast oil reserves. He also denied having any ties to the drug trade. President Trump saying the U.S. will now be running Venezuela until there can be a transition of power.
We're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid.
The administration says it didn't inform Congress of the operation for fear of information leaking. And with President Maduro and his wife now here in the United States, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez addressed the nation today in response to the operation.
Que estaba en curso una agresión bajo
false excuses and false pretexts, that the masks had fallen and that it had only one objective: regime change in Venezuela. That regime change would allow for the seizure of our energy resources, our mineral resources, and our natural resources. And as Venezuela reacts to what happened, Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino ordered a full deployment of the nation's armed forces.
Men
and women of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, fulfilling the orders of President Nicolás Maduro Moros, will deploy all our capabilities for an integral defense of the nation. Now, Maduro's facing a long list of charges after Attorney General Pam Bondi unsealed his indictment today. It includes narco-terrorism, cocaine trafficking, and weapons charges. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, to give you an idea of the scale of all of this, these strikes hit everything from airports and seaports to a major military base and even signal towers. This all follows months of tension in the Caribbean, where the U.S. has been targeting boats the president claims were being used for drug trafficking. Now, we're continuing our live team coverage here tonight on how this is hitting home right here in Central Florida. Right now, air traffic is a mess. The FAA has shut down airspace over parts of the Caribbean, which is causing some major delays and cancellations over at Orlando International, especially for anyone heading to Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands. Now, earlier today, we saw some of the tension firsthand as protesters took to the streets here in Orlando to speak out against the operation. We have Channel 9's JJ Burton now live over at the airport, where a lot of people are stuck tonight. And JJ, what are you hearing from travelers tonight?
Frustration and again, hundreds of flights that are canceled or delayed, but also a lot of people. This is a huge situation, a huge story. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and some agree and some don't agree. And we spoke to some of those folks earlier today. Smoke filling the air, bombs going off. Jonathan Naves and Luis Benago say they woke up to these images of their home country Saturday morning.
First reaction, I got scared because I got family over there still, and my great-grandfather's right. So
I was worried for them, but at the same time, we were like excited.
They've been able to reach their family, and they say so far everyone's okay. Both of them tell me their excitement has to do with the big announcement. Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife are both in custody in the U.S. The attack on Venezuela comes after a pressure campaign against Maduro. The Trump administration say he is flooding the U.S. with drugs and gang members. Lewis and Jonathan tell me this attack had to happen like this.
Yeah, that's the only way to take out the government, because the first time in 26 years, like it's a relief, basically, you know, that's something's happening.
Everyone doesn't feel that way. Millions across America and here in Orlando protested this attack. They're saying the U.S. needs to stay out of this, and some even calling this attack an act of war and saying the Trump administration broke the law because Congress didn't approve it.
We denounce these actions that are illegal, and that we do not support the actions of the United States government and do not want a war with Venezuela.
The administration say they did not break the law. And the Venezuelans that we talked to today say that they actually want to see Maduro in custody to really believe it. We will continue to stay on top of the story, as well as monitoring the conditions here at the airport with those flights that are delayed and canceled. Reporting live from the airport, I'm JJ Burton, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, JJ. Now, Central Florida's congressional leaders are split on the capture of Venezuela's president. Republican Congressman Randy Fine posted on X, quote, "The United States of America is safer today because of the leadership of President Donald J. Trump and the bravery and heroism of the American military, which again proved itself the best in the world. Best news of the night: no American casualties, a narco-terrorist dictator in custody, and a country pacified. Trust Trump," end quote. And Democrat Darren Soto wrote in part, quote, "Trump's failure to seek congressional approval for these strikes raises serious questions about the legality of the mission. The administration made multiple false promises that it would not invade Venezuela without congressional consent. Congress must now conduct extensive hearings on the attack and all efforts to restore democracy in Venezuela," end quote. And demonstrations across the world have been happening all day, including here in the Sunshine State. This is what the streets in Miami looked like earlier this morning. This is actually an area in Doral there, where there was a huge Venezuelan population. And as you can see, they were holding up their flags. They were singing the Venezuelan national anthem outside of a gas station there.
As a Venezuelan American, I can't tell you how happy I am. There's tears in my eyes. We've been waiting for this moment since 1998. We're very hopeful. There's still a lot of work that needs to get done, but we're still extremely excited and hopeful, and praise God that finally justice is coming.
And it's not just here in the States where people are gathering. On the left right now, you see Venezuelans living in Lima, Peru, flooding the streets there to celebrate. And on the right, as seen from Bogota, Colombia, where crowds are chanting "Free Venezuela," following the news of Maduro's capture. And here's a little context for you on what makes Venezuela so important to the rest of the world. So get this, in December, their oil exports arose about 921,000 barrels per day. The South American country holds the world's largest oil reserves. It accounts for about 17% of global reserves at just over 300 billion barrels. So there you have it.